The show Bridgerton takes place in 1813 England, and it is engagement season. Every mother in high-class society is getting her daughters ready to present them to the queen, and if the queen gives you a favorable rating, then it'll really benefit you to hook up with an eligible guy. If she kind of dismisses you, that's not a great sign. And this show focuses on two families. There's the Bridgertons, who have 7 kids. Their daughters are Hyacinth, Eloise, and Daphne. And Daphne's the one who's going to be presented to the queen. The Bridgerton boys are Anthony, Colin, Benedict, and Gregory. And Anthony is the oldest. He's also the man of the house after his father passed away. So he's going to be the one to give away Daphne when it comes time for her to marry someone. He also decides who she's going to marry. It will not be her mother Violet, who simply is preparing her to meet the queen and the parties that follow. Now, their next-door neighbors and lifelong friends are the Featheringtons. They're led by their mother, Portia, and there's 3 daughters, Penelope, Prudence, and Philippa. And in a bold move, she's throwing out all 3 daughters at once, which is kind of unheard of. You usually kind of wait until one daughter's married off, and then the next one gets presented, and then that gets married off, and so on and so forth. So both families get ready to present their daughters to the queen, and the queen is not impressed at all with the Featherington girls. It doesn't help matters that Prudence actually collapses because her corset is way too tight. But the girl that impresses the queen the most that day is Daphne. The queen actually comes down from her throne and says, "Flawless, my dear." So Daphne is now the number 1 girl in every guy's eye. It doesn't hurt about the fact that she has a high dowry, which, if you're not aware, a dowry is the price that a guy will get once he marries a girl from the girl's family. Yeah, it's a messed up society. Now, word of this has gotten to Lady Whistledown, and Whistledown is like an 1800s version of Perez Hilton. Since there's no internet, she doesn't run a blog, but what she does do is post everything in a pamphlet that she initially started handing out for free to get people hooked, but after 2 weeks, she starts charging. And the pamphlet is all about the season and what's going on in high society, and it's got the whole town kind of abuzz. And in the first pamphlet, she paints the narrative that Daphne was a dark horse, but after the queen gave her nod, she's number 1 in the pecking order. And at first, the Bridgerton girls kind of dismiss this pamphlet, but after they see that it speaks highly of them, they're all invested in it. On the flip side, Portia Featherington isn't a fan of it because they don't even mention her daughters. And she even hypothesizes that it might be Violet Bridgerton, but everyone kind of dismisses that. The fact is, though, nobody knows who Whistledown is, so it's got everybody guessing. And Portia's friend who is there that day has to tell her, Whistledown is correct. Daphne is quite a catch. But she points out that this could be a good thing. The quicker that Daphne gets married off, the more guys and suitors there will be for the Featherington girls. But the Featherington girls are about to be joined by one of their distant cousins. Her name is Marina, and she's from the country. She lives on a farm, and she has nobody to present her. So Lord Featherington nominated Portia, so Portia kind of feels like this is a charity case. And her friend asks her, "Are you sure about this? I mean, presenting 4 girls?" But because Marina is a simple farm girl, Portia doesn't see any competition for her Featherington girls. Although she gets a rude awakening when Marina shows up, and she is gorgeous. That night, though, everybody gets ready for the first party of the season, which is thrown by a woman named Lady Danbury. And this will be the first party that Anthony has to escort Daphne to. It's also the first party since the Whistledown pamphlet came out. So everyone's kind of expecting Daphne to be the belle of the ball. And before the party, he's venting to his mistress Sienna, who is a soprano in the opera, about how he really doesn't want to go to this party because of the mothers and the dads doing deals, and unfortunately, because his dad is dead, he's going to have to be that guy. Sienna tells him how Daphne is fortunate because not every woman has that kind of protection. But he instinctively shoots back, well, not every woman is a lady. Which is pretty insulting to Sienna because she knows that she is a mistress. So he has to walk that statement back pretty quickly. But he heads home and gets ready to the party, and everybody heads to Danbury's, and it's just as Anthony had predicted. The mothers are judging everybody, the dads are trying to make deals, but the party does kind of stop when Anthony walks in with Daphne. All eyes are on her. But as they're walking around and potential suitors are walking up to her, Anthony is just shooing them away, thinking that none of them are good enough for his sister. I mean, to be honest, he's a pretty big cockblock. Now, up in the balcony, Portia Featherington is talking to a few friends, but she's also in the middle of putting down Marina because it's obvious that Marina is more attractive than any of her daughters, and no one's really walking up to any of the Featherington girls. And it becomes obvious to everybody in the room that if you're picking either Marina or one of the Featherington girls, you're picking Marina, and that includes Colin Bridgerton. He likes himself some Marina Thompson. Now, a late arrival to the party is the Duke, Simon Bassett. And this guy is the definition of 18th century swag. I mean, he's draped in velvet. It's like his penis showed up 2 minutes before he did on my TV screen. But he's only in town because his father, who he had a terrible relationship with, recently passed away, and he just wanted to finish up some of his affairs. He's related to Lady Danbury, though, and once she invited him to the party, he couldn't really say no. She wasn't accepting that. So he's forced to show up, and as soon as he does, Portia Featherington throws her daughters at him, but he's not interested in them. he's not really interested in anybody. He doesn't want to marry anyone. He's just looking for a way to be seen and then get the hell out. Now, he's not the only one looking for an escape because Daphne really wants to get away from Antony. She makes up an excuse that she wants to go get lemonade when she's approached by Lord Burbrook. And this guy looks like a rat. For all my Harry Potter fans out there, he looks like Peter Pettigrew's brother. Not attractive at all. And it's someone that Daphne definitely does not want to talk to, but he's kind of chasing her down as she tries to get away, and she bumps into the Duke. So she quickly asks, "Who are you?" So it looks like they know each other and they're having a conversation. But he's kind of insulted about the fact that she doesn't know who he is. He thinks that this is a ploy by one of the other mothers to just get their daughter in the good graces of him. But that's all cleared up when Antony sees Bassett and calls over for him because they're old friends from school. So Antony clears up any confusion. Hey, this is my sister. But now Daphne knows all about the Duke because she figures, okay, well, if you're friends with my brother, then that tells me all I need to know about you. After they're done talking to Simon Bassett, though, Antony suggests that they head out, which is ridiculous because she hasn't even danced with anybody. And Violet brings that up, but Antony points out, let's keep everybody wanting more. All eyes are on her, so this is a great time to leave. And they do. Now, the next day is calling day. It's the first day where guys can come over to the house and show that they're interested in the girls that they met the previous night. And Daphne is expecting a lot of suitors. After all the eyes were on her. But unfortunately, no one really shows up for her. And any guy who does is shown the door pretty quickly by Antony. One guy who gets to stay a little bit longer is Lord Burbrook, who Daphne has no interest in whatsoever. And to the surprise of everybody, the most popular girl ends up being Marina. And you can tell that Portia isn't happy that all these suitors are coming over, not for any of her daughters, but for this farm girl. And word of calling day gets to Whistledown. So the next issue of the pamphlet that she puts out, it's all about how maybe, even though the queen gave her nod, the queen was wrong because everybody had eyes for Marina Thompson. She points out that this is exactly what Portia wanted, the number one girl under her roof, but it's not quite true. Portia did want that, but she wanted it for one of her daughters, not Marina. The pamphlet also reaches Daphne, and she is pissed. She talks to Antony about it, venting to him that Lady Whistledown has declared her basically ineligible, worthy of a simpleton and nobody else. Antony tries to remind her that she's giving a lot of credit to somebody who is hiding behind a pen name. No one knows who this person is. But Daphne doesn't care. She feels like everything that Whistledown has written is true, and it's true because of Antony. The fact is, Antony has scared every available suitor away, and Whistledown is simply reporting it. He points out that he's merely protecting her, but she tells him that he has no idea what it's like to be a woman. Her entire life, she's been raised for this moment. And if she's unable to find a husband, she's basically worthless. The good news for Daphne is the next pamphlet from Whistledown doesn't mention her. It's all about how the Duke is not interested in ever getting married. But now Whistledown has the ire of the Duke. He heads to a boys' club and is talking to Antony about it, pissed off because Whistledown basically just gave a challenge to every mother out there. Tame the untamable man. But Antony can't believe that the Duke isn't planning on taking a wife. But the Duke throws it right back at Antony, saying, what about you? You're the oldest son. You're not married. Where exactly is your wife? Or are you planning on marrying that opera singer that you're running around with? Antony, however, points out that he is in possession of something that the Duke is not. Brothers. So he doesn't have to worry about having kids. He figures his brothers will do it for him. In the next pamphlet from Whistledown, it announces that Colin Bridgerton is going to be awarded the, quote, trophy of Marina Thompson. And jealousy is really getting the better of Portia. She would love to send Marina back to the country where she came from, but she knows that Lord Featherington is never going to allow that. So unfortunately for her, she just has to bite her tongue and deal with it. That night, though, there is another party, and it's actually at the opera, the same opera that Antony's mistress sings at. And Violet escorts Daphne there, where as they're walking in, Lady Danbury calls them over to see the queen again. And when she's reintroduced to Daphne, she says, oh yes, she made an impression. However fleeting it was. Because the queen is no different from everybody else. She's reading Whistledown as well. So when the show starts, Danbury joins Daphne and Violet in their box, and they're kind of venting about Whistledown, how she's put both their families in a bind, writing about Daphne and the Duke. And that's when the two women start to conspire about the fact that they should hook Daphne and the Duke up. So Violet invites the Duke over for dinner, which Danbury accepts on his behalf. And he goes over, and it's the entire Bridgerton family at one table. They're all having a good time. Everybody except for Daphne, who is seated next to the Duke. And he can tell that she's not having a good time. And when he brings it up to her, she basically tells him, oh, I'm not going to sit here and just smile because I'm in your presence. It's not going to happen. And the two start squabbling back and forth about how neither are interested in the other. And Antony can clearly see what his mother was doing. So that night, as he's doing work and his mother comes up to him, he yells at her for trying to set up the Duke with Daphne. During the argument, his father comes up and he says, well, if Dad was alive and he knew anything about the Duke, he wouldn't want to set up his daughter with him. Daphne deserves better. I know you think you're solving this matter, but you're not. They start arguing about whose responsibility Daphne is, and that's when Violet says, okay, let's talk about responsibility. Tonight, when you leave here, are you going to go to your room, or are you going to go to the apartment across town and be with that soprano mistress that you've been seeing? All while you rely on your brothers to do the job that you cannot. You want to talk about responsibility? What the hell do you know about responsibility? I sit with that girl. Do you know what I see? I see a terrified girl who knows what kind of life she's going to have if you continue to get in her way. And the fact is, if your father was still here, Daphne would have already been set up with somebody. Violet then just drops the mic and walks out. And Anthony did exactly as his mother predicted. He headed to that apartment, hooked up with Sienna, but then in the morning he ends it, and he's not that nice about it. And it completely takes Sienna off guard. Now that morning, another pamphlet comes out, and it's all about the downfall of Daphne Bridgerton. But Daphne has to shake it off because they have to head to a party that night. It's a party that the Featherington girls will also be attending, but they'll be doing so without Portia. Portia is staying home because Marina wasn't feeling good. And she was feeling sick because Marina is probably pregnant. She's been at the house for a month. She hasn't had her period. And once Portia finds out, she rips into Marina. She starts telling her how she should be happy because she can send her back to where she came from. And even goes as far as to ask her, do you even know who the father is? But Marina, to her credit, sticks up for herself. Basically telling Portia, you don't know what it's like. You live in an ivory tower. You're sitting here judging me having no idea what I've been through. But Portia ends up slapping her. Now, the Featherington girls have no idea about Marina. They're actually thrilled that Portia didn't come because they're allowed to wear what they want. And for Penelope, it's this pink dress instead of the normal hideous green-yellow stuff that her mother usually makes her wear. So as she's standing around, up walks Colin Bridgerton, and she's kind of got a schoolgirl crush on him. And she's excited until he asks, do you know where Marina is? So she fills him in. Marina's staying home. She's not feeling well. But as the two are talking, this complete see you next Tuesday named Cressida shows up. She pours a drink on Penelope, acting like it was an accident. It clearly wasn't. And she's asking Colin if he wants to dance. But since Colin's a stand-up guy, he says, no, actually, I promised my last dance to Penelope, and escorts her out on the dance floor where the two have a good time. Now, keep in mind, it's 1813. They're short on entertainment. So the big entertainment at this party is they're turning lights on. Makes you real appreciative that we have Netflix and we live in 2021. But right after they flip the switch, that's when Anthony walks up to Daphne, letting her know that he's decided she's going to marry Lord Berbick. He tells her how he has no debt, he seems like he's nice to women and animals, and he's also got a pretty decent shot. But Daphne has zero interest in marrying this guy because he literally looks like a ferret. So she walks away because she just wants to be by herself. But Berbick finds her and even brings up about the fact that they're soon to be man and wife, but she turns to him and says, I will never marry you. And the conversation turns contentious with Berbick telling her she doesn't have any options. And he goes to put his hands on her, but she knocks him out. Now, the Duke, who also went to the party but also wanted to get away, had seen this all go down, and he was actually running in to protect her, but found out, yeah, she can protect herself. And as Berbick is lying on the floor unconscious, the Duke says, you can't marry this guy. But she says, well, if I don't find anyone else to propose, then I'm going to have to. Unlike you, I can't just say I don't want to marry. And he mentions how he's surprised that she no longer has a line of suitors. He knows it's because of Whistledown, and he despises her as much as Daphne does at this point. He feels like Whistledown has done a number on both of them. But that's when the Duke realizes that there might be an answer to their issue. He suggests the two act like they're an item. It'll kill two birds with one stone. It'll get the thirsty mothers off of his back. And for the other guys out there, if they think that Daphne is taken, they're going to want her even more. So they head out to the dance floor together, looking like they're madly in love. It gets everybody's eyes on them, and it works. In the next pamphlet from Whistledown, that's all she writes about. Thanks for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you don't. Be nice in the comments section. Nasty comments hurt my feelings. I work hard on these. If I make a mistake, it happens. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, it'll be up soon. Sharing is caring. Put it on your MySpace page or your away message. And check out my podcast, Scene Invaders, wherever you listen to podcasts.